The galaxy had its rules, and one of the unspoken ones was that interstellar politics rarely mixed with personal affairs. Ambassador Zyra of the Valkyrie species prided herself on her diplomacy, her ability to navigate tense negotiations without ever spilling a drop of her pride. And yet, despite her flawless career, there was one arena where she felt utterly powerless: her teenage daughter, Lyra. Lyra was bright, clever, and stubborn in ways that reminded Zyra of herself at that age. But she had a habit of dreaming far bigger than the station allowed. And now, at 16, Lyra had declared she wanted a blind date, a concept Zyra found alien in both senses of the word. "I do not understand," Zyra said, folding her forearms in exasperation. "Why must you allow a human to influence your social development?" "Mum," Lyra rolled her eyes, her purple-hued skin shimmering under the station lights. "He's not just a human. He's, well, I don't know, but he's nice, he's brave, and yes, he's human. Can you please stop sounding like I'm asking to play with a plasma grenade?" Zyra sighed. Humans, they were fascinating, chaotic creatures that somehow managed to survive in the galaxy despite their lack of natural defenses, small size, and apparent recklessness. Zyra had always found them unpredictable, which was why, when Lyra insisted on this blind date, Zyra knew she had to intervene. Not to stop it, no. She was smarter than that, but to ensure it didn't go horribly wrong. So Zyra arranged the date herself, choosing a neutral location on a sprawling orbital station orbiting Zenthara Prime. She had strict instructions for the humans: behave, do not embarrass her daughter, and absolutely do not endanger the station. Lyra's date, a young human named Kalen, arrived in a small hoverpod, looking every bit like a hero from one of Lyra's holofilms, tall, confident, with a grin that somehow disarmed Zyra's natural suspicion. Kalen stepped onto the station's observation deck, where the nebula stretched in colors of violet and gold, and met Lyra's nervous gaze. "Hi," he said simply. "You must be Lyra." Lyra blinked. Yeah, and you're Kalen," he said, offering a hand. His tone carried a confidence that made Zyra's antennae twitch. Humans were bold, often foolishly so, but they had a charm that was hard to deny. Zyra watched from a distance, noting the subtle rise and fall of Kalen's chest, the calm way he scanned the room, and the way he didn't flinch when Lyra's tail flicked nervously. "Interesting," she murmured. "This one might survive the encounter." The date began awkwardly, with Lyra stammering and Kalen smiling patiently. They wandered through the station's gardens, artificial gravity bending gently under their feet as flowers that glowed in soft neon colors swayed around them. "So, you're here on some kind of mission?" Lyra asked cautiously, curious but wary. "Kind of," Kalen replied, shrugging. "I'm a pilot. I've been to a few star systems, mostly delivering supplies, sometimes solving problems." He hesitated. "Big problems?" Lyra's eyes widened. "Like what?" Kalen chuckled. "Let's just say I've survived a few situations where the smart thing would have been to run away." Zyra's brows furrowed. "Humans are reckless," she muttered under her breath. Recklessness disguised as courage, typical. But as the date continued, something unexpected happened. Kalen didn't just talk about heroics, he listened. He asked questions about Lyra's favorite books, her favorite stars, even about her mother's diplomatic work. And when Lyra's wings drooped slightly, embarrassed, he laughed gently and said, "Hey, I like the way you think. Don't worry about impressing me." By the time they reached the observation balcony overlooking the nebula, Zyra found herself oddly impressed. Kalen had an air of calm bravery that humans often lacked, a groundedness that drew even her critical eye. And when he held out his hand and asked Lyra if she wanted to touch the floating crystal orbs hovering in the low-gravity chamber, she giggled and took it. Zyra considered leaving, but something in her gut told her to stay. And then came the moment that would define the evening. A sudden tremor shook the station, an emergency alert blared, and alarms flashed red. Zyra's mind raced. Security. Breach. Sabotage. Could this human really be trusted? But before she could intervene, Kalen's instincts kicked in. He pulled Lyra behind a console, scanning the area, analyzing the source of the disturbance. A group of smugglers had attempted a hijack, using the chaos to access restricted areas of the station. "They're after something," Kalen murmured. "And we can't let them take it." Zyra's antennae quivered in surprise. Humans were reactive, yes, foolish, often. But Kalen's assessment was precise. His eyes darted, calculating every possible threat vector, every escape route. Then he turned to Lyra. "Stay close," he said. "Trust me," and he moved. What followed was a blur of action. Kalen dodged plasma blasts with surprising agility, using the environment to shield both himself and Lyra. He reached the smugglers. Leader disarmed him and immobilized him in a single fluid motion that made Zyra gasp. She had never seen such efficiency from a human, not from a diplomat, a soldier, or even her colleagues in the Galactic Council. When the station security arrived moments later, Kalen was already restraining the last of the intruders. Lyra stared at him, wide-eyed, and then looked at her mother. "Mum," she whispered, he did all that." Zyra blinked, and for the first time in a long time, she found herself speechless. Humans were unpredictable, reckless, even fragile. Yet here was one human who had acted with courage, intelligence, and selflessness that even the Valkyrie could admire. Kalen turned to Lyra and said softly, "Are you okay?" "Yes," she breathed, smiling. "Thanks to you." Zyra approached them slowly, her usual commanding presence softened. "Young human," she said, her voice steady, yet tinged with an unfamiliar respect. "You have displayed extraordinary qualities. Not many species could have handled that situation with such precision." "You have my commendation," Kalen straightened, blinking in surprise. Thank you, Ambassador Zyra. That means a lot coming from you." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "See, Mum, I told you he was special." Zyra's forearms crossed in thought. "Indeed," she murmured. "Perhaps I underestimated humans. This human possesses qualities that are admirable, even by Valkyrie standards." Kalen grinned sheepishly. "I just did what needed to be done." Humility, Zyra noted. Another human trait worth remembering. As the night wore on, the incident became the talk of the station. Lyra and Kalen shared stories and laughter, their bond strengthened by the shared danger. And Zyra, standing in the shadows, realized something profound. In a galaxy full of rules and rigid hierarchies, humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology, diplomacy, or firepower. It was the heart, courage, empathy, and the willingness to do the right thing even when it was dangerous, illogical, or impossible. By the time the twin moons of Zenthara Prime rose over the horizon, Zyra knew her daughter had made a good choice. Perhaps the galaxy would learn to respect humans in ways that no treaty could enforce, not because they were the strongest, but because they were, in their unpredictable way, extraordinary. And for the first time, Ambassador Zyra smiled, not as a diplomat, not as a mother, but as a witness to something rare and unforgettable, humanity at its finest. Asterisk.